Wisp Sports Radio, the voice of women in sport.
This is Season 3, Episode 7 of The Horse Show on Wisp Sports Radio, brought to you by Highlands Earache Drops.
Have you been diagnosed with an earache by a physician? For natural relief due to earache pain, fever, irritability, and sleeplessness, try Highlands Homeopathic Earache Drops and Tablets. Highlands has been trusted for generations to provide safe, effective homeopathic medicines for all members of the family. There's no alcohol and no sting. You can get back to doing what you love. Go to highlands.com/ear-pain to find a retailer near you. That's highlands.com/ear-pain. Claims are based on traditional homeopathic practice, not accepted medical evidence. Not FDA evaluated. Read and follow label directions.
I'm Chris Stafford, and at Wisp Sports, we believe that women in sport deserve equal coverage. The Horse Show features exclusive interviews with riders and trainers around the world of equestrian sport. My guest today really needs little introduction. She's a 5-time Olympian, double silver medalist from Seoul and Atlanta. She won individual and team gold medals in the 1983 Pan American Games. She's been a member of 3 World Equestrian Games teams and ridden on 47 US Nations Cup teams. She's also competed in 10 World Cup finals, as well as winning numerous Grand Prix along the way. In 1988 and 1992, Anne was named AHSA Horsewoman of the Year, and in 1995 was the Equestrian of the Year. In 1991, the US Olympic Committee named her Female Equestrian Athlete of the Year, and Lani Hippique ranked her as the #1 American and #1 female rider in the world. In 2011, she was voted America's favorite show jumping equestrian, and in 2017, she was inducted into the Show Jumping Hall of Fame. More recently, Anne has been the chef d'equipe for the US Show Jumping Development Program and assistant chef d'equipe for the senior team, as well as being an advisor for team selection. Her passion for coaching is well known, and she embraces all generations to help them realize their full potential as riders and horsemen and women. Anne recently revealed that she was the victim of sexual abuse as a child and young rider, and bravely spoke out in the light of the Me Too campaign and in the interests of safe sport. I spoke with Anne to discuss this and the impact and responsibility that coaches have, how attitudes and styles have evolved, and why she's so passionate about being a role model and mentor. Well, Anne, I know how busy you are jetting all over the country, all over the world, so thank you for taking the time to do this, and welcome to the program.
Thank you. Yes, it's great to talk to you as well. I've been fortunate to be all over the place, and but fun to take some time to talk to you. So thanks.
Well, obviously, your recent revelations, the stories of the abuse that you suffered as a young girl and as a young rider in the sport, is something that is resonating, unfortunately, across, not just across equestrian sport, but across sport in general now. It's a topic that's front and center in sport generally. So I want to unpack that a little bit, not to retrace your steps so much, Anne, but talk about the psychological influence and role that coaches have on coaching people and not just athletes. So let's begin by just looking back maybe on your career and summarizing, if you would, those coaching styles and how coaching has evolved and how riders becoming trainers and coaching and coaches has evolved in terms of their attitudes and styles.
Yeah, well, it's interesting what you're talking about, my career and the different coaches and types of coaching throughout. I started with this Jimmy Williams in California at the Flint Ridge Riding Club. Well, actually, before him, there was a beginner kind of teacher at the riding club. Marge Chamberlain, who I rode with, and then when I was old enough, 11, then to ride with Jimmy. And he was a great horseman and was a great teacher, coach. He produced Olympic riders like Mary Mars Chapeau and Robert Ridland, who went to the Olympics and is now our chef d'équipe for show jumping in the States. So all of that, he was a great coach in that sense. And yet he was totally, had been in the Second World War. He had been in a remount in Italy. And so that coaching at that time, I was 11, and the style then to me was more military in a sense. You rode in group lessons and you did as you were told, and lots of respect for the coach, and but more you do as you were told. And at the time, a lot of it was very, very strict, could be belittling, could be aggressive, and yet to some he was stronger than others, I want to say, but it was definitely, he had been in the military. Now, some of that discipline and being on time and clean boots and, you're riding in the group lesson, and some of that I think is wonderful. I mean, I do think that's, a lot of that is good, that kind of discipline. I don't know, I was raised that way. Then again, my next big mentor with my show jumping, of course, was George Morris. Went from California to the East Coast, and George hadn't been in the war, but his coach, Gordon Wright, kind of like Jimmy Williams, he had been in the war also, Second World War, and so he was from the cavalry school, and everything was done like the cavalry, organized, and these kind of drills and exercises. And boy, as a student, you didn't speak up, you didn't speak, if something was tough, you didn't cry, you worked through it, you made it happen. And I still tend to be a little like that for sure in my teaching, and that, I don't know, that very extremely structured. So, that was sort of then, and now it's evolved. George was also George Morris, very, very, sort of his exercises, and you do as you were told, and the teaching very much, one way. You were just told what to do, and there never a discussion about it or anything. It was really very much yes, sir. That was, and yet I have to say it worked for me. That was, that's the way really the riding started, and as I say, really from the cavalry, that kind of teaching, and then over time it has changed, I want to say dramatically in a sense. I think, and even George is slightly softer in his teaching, but his basic principles are really the same for sure. But the coaching could be very, very, very strong and rather tough. I'm not exactly how to put it into words, but and yet now today, I think with some coaches and trainers, they kind of can teach, and there's this back and forth dialogue, and are you happy and you're having fun? I mean, there's a fine line. Yes, the kids should be having fun. And even when I was a little kid, I was having fun. I was having fun doing, with that instruction and at the riding club. And I wouldn't have continued if I wasn't having fun. But today, it's almost gone the other direction, I think, like some maybe parents with their kids. I mean, I do think there does need to be discipline, and there needs to be structure and that kind of stuff. I think some of it's almost some of the professionals in the United States anyway, mollycoddling the kids and, make sure, of course there's a safety factor, and you're going to fall off of horse. I mean, you're just going to fall off, and that's part of riding. You fall off, you get on. That's part of horseback riding. Things like that. People don't gallop. Well, the 3-day adventures, but show jumping, everybody wants to be in the ring, and they want it very safe, and have the horses make sure a lot of them are quiet enough that nothing's going to go wrong. And as I say, how are you feeling? And well, if you don't want to do it today, you don't have to. And way to the other side of the spectrum that I don't know is so healthy either. It's kind of gone way to the other side. There is a lot of that. that it's making the kids happy, and are they safe, and they don't really have to work that hard at it. If the horses are a little fresh, they get prepared and or get, not tranquilized, but make sure they're quiet enough for the kids. And that some of the fun, and I do talk to a lot of other professionals, people from my era and even slightly younger, but if the horse is fresh, no, you don't want some wild and crazy thing with a little kid, but sure, you figure out how to ride the horse that's bucking a little bit, or the horse that goes a little fast. That's all part of it, and that's the fun of it, to learn all of that and to work at it. I was always about the journey, how do I make this horse better? And but some of the trainers, as I say today, they have maybe been good riders, and then they turn out to be a teacher. Some are better teachers than others. Michael Matz, who I was on the Olympic team with a couple of times, and a great rider, he always got frustrated teaching, and he'd say that he just didn't. He had students, of course. Now he of course has racehorses, but he was pretty cute. Oh, he would get so frustrated. He didn't teach very well, and he didn't really enjoy teaching. He was an amazing rider. I always loved to teach, and I'm thankful that I can teach, and I had great teachers. But really there's always a balance. Again, how much discipline, and of course you listen to them. I very often ask the students, how do they feel? But I will explain, yes, but you need to ride without stirrups every day for a week, or you need to. There are some hard things that are hard to get good at anything, not just always making it the easiest and the quick fix and how fast and you can speed up to learn something. So the coaching has changed dramatically. I'm sure that you've seen it in the horse world yourself.
Yes, enormously. And you mentioned there, of course, the background, the military influence in terms of the style of those trainers and those coaches in previous generations. And that still hasn't died yet today. But as you say, we've swung the pendulum completely, maybe too much. But I want to go back to the influence that that generation still has and had on riders like yourself. And you mentioned how aggressive almost they were dominating. They were very assertive, and they were very influential in the way we became horsemen and women and riders, but also people. I want to talk about the psychological impact that had. When I think of what you went through with the abuse, it isn't just that it's sexual abuse, and it's emotional and psychological abuse, and how it shapes you as a person. And I know that I still feel the effect of that, as I'm sure you do, having grown up with it. We're contemporaries, of being influenced as people, and you particularly influencing your coaching style now, and as a rider and as a mentor, because I just want to mention that what is very noticeable, and I don't think I've seen this elsewhere, I often look at people's social media profiles and how they label themselves. And some may put they're an Olympian, or they're a coach, or whatever it may be, or a mother or a father, or whatever, a wife or a husband. But you have put riding and jumping mentor. You specifically used that word mentor. So let's unpack all of this a little bit.
Well, certainly the psychological effects, of the abuse, yes, I was sexually abused when I was 11 and by this Jimmy Williams. And for sure, a huge, very, very young. And so, of course, that has a huge effect. And I'm very, very thankful that I ended up getting some help, and all of that. I don't have to go through it in a big way, but, help with a therapist. Finally, when I was older, not then. It was a big secret. And Jimmy Williams was like God. And anyway, one thing led to another, and but the psychological abuse is probably as much as the physical. I have to say that yes, he was very much from the military and the discipline and all of that. So part of that, for sure, of maybe not standing up for yourself, not trusting your instincts and things like that. I was always a good student and did, what I was told. And so, there are pros and cons to all of it. But in the end, yes, the psychological part, then of not being able to make my own decisions. I tell me what to do and I'll do it. If jumping off the top of the building was the right thing to do because it was going to make me better, I wouldn't do whatever to be a good student. But then later, okay, gosh, now what do I really want? What do I really need? Things like that. And I think also the, sort of feeling strong but it's interesting because I was fortunate, something inside of me to say, okay, this happened. I'm going to really, in a funny way, prove that I'm going to be great. One of the toughest things with Jimmy was he said I would never be good enough. I rode with him for years. I worked for him for many years. The way he treated me was, you will never be good enough. And there was this feeling inside of me, really, if I'm going to show you, I took sort of this lemons and made lemonade out of it. I was very fortunate. I got to go to 5 Olympic Games. I have 2 Olympic silver medals and the World Championships. And I've had a great, great, great career. But in a way, sort of that, yeah, I'm a survivor. I'm going to be great. You said I wasn't going to make it, in a sense. So that worked well for me. Now, other people, drugs and problems, and, I know some of them didn't fare so well from that. And of course, learning about a sexual abuse, that kind of thing. So I'm very thankful that I was strong enough and I found the right people and some therapy and even spiritual work. And I think I've come out of it, well. But the part also of the coaching and the trainers, the biggest thing, and even me speaking up, it's about the abuse of power, whether it's abusing the horses, many, people that abuse. And Jimmy was very tough on the horses. He was a good trainer, all of that. But yes, was quite tough on the horses sometimes. But the mental kind of abuse and abusing their power, whether it's just mental bullying, today they'd call it bullying, but again, that sort of belittling and yelling and ranting and raving at students, that's really not acceptable today. Some people still do it. But really the abuse of power. And that's why I spoke up to, the little kids. I was a little kid and this guy was like God. And it happens. And I've had kids, that idolize me and write great little notes to me and things and from their school or whatever. But it's, you don't abuse your power. You don't abuse that. And that's really kind of the biggest thing to speak up about. There are some trainers that get into that. Yeah. And that they know that they're powerful and they know these little kids, would do anything they say, and then that gets taken advantage of, or the just being overly strong, overly tough when it's not necessary. So the psychological part is a huge part of it. And even I tell people, when to go ride with some kids that want to come ride with me, and maybe they're too young, and go to another trainer a little lower level because the kid, she's a little bit of a beginner or novice, but all of them I say, or somebody that actually calls and asks, even if they're in a different part of the country, and where would I send a kid? And I said, go and watch the teaching, go and listen to the teacher give the lessons, see the care of the horses, how they present themselves, that kind of thing. Also at the horse shows, how they conduct themselves when they're teaching, to see what you're gonna get into, and that how they treat the riders. I can be very strong, and I even say it in my teaching sometimes. I mean, when a rider is maybe doing something pretty bad that looks a little dangerous, then I keep them down at a lower level, or I'll even say, if I kind of raise my voice, sometimes you have to, so that something doesn't go wrong, to pull up, or be that the rider has to be stronger and everything. More in the sense of that an accident doesn't happen, or because I know from my experience, okay, you really need to stop now. but not that belittling kind of teaching, that you're stupid or you're fat or you're whatever, those kinds of things, belittling things. More, come on, you can do better. I believe, you really can jump this jump and halt straight, or you really can jump that big wall. I had a little girl just yesterday jumping a wall out on the field, and you could see she got nervous and she kind of leaned up the neck, and the cute mare, she stopped and then, come on, I kind of, of course I yelled, we're at the field, so I'm going to have to kind of yell, come on, you can do this and ride forward and use your legs. And sure enough, then she ended up jumping it a few times, but there was a little piece of fear with the girl. So I, yes, of course, but it was more, you can do it, not you can't do it, not your, you can't do it. It's, yeah, you can do it. And I said, you were a little bit afraid, weren't you? And she kind of this little smile, and she shook her head yes. And later, her mother told me just about 2 days ago, I guess she'd fallen off at a wall somewhere else, at their farm at home. And so there's that encouraging them, not belittling them, and then knowing, I'm proud to be a good teacher, and so how you conduct yourself and not again abusing the power, not. Yes, I'm lucky that people look up to me and things, but I would never take advantage of a kid or belittle them or put them down. It's to encourage them and to make them, how can I make this child be better? How can I make her be the best she can be, or him be the best he can be? Same with the horses, riding them and training them. And for sure, they need some discipline. They're horses, they're animals. But it's more, how can I make this be maybe an Olympic champion, or this horse be the best that he can be? I don't know, that kind of feeling. I don't know if that's answering part of your question.
It then goes to that next level, really, and as you experienced, does it actually manipulates someone's career and career prospects, and that you endured as well, that threatening of your career, and you won't get the rides, you won't become a success, all of that too. And I mean, how demeaning was that? I mean, how did you feel at the time that you weren't a threat, that if you didn't play the game, you weren't going to make it to become an Olympian?
Yeah, there part of that the threat of not getting the next ride, I guess, or that I had to be tough. But it's interesting that the strength that the way I was coached, I'm thankful I was strong enough. And to be the best at anything, you do need to have a toughness. There does need to be strength in there. Whether you're a top athlete, an Olympic athlete, a great doctor or a lawyer, you have to have strength. And so I'm thankful that with that kind of belittling and humiliating part, I would never do it again. I mean, it was just a lot of the way that teaching was, and it wasn't just him. That was his style, sort of at the time. A little bit from the cavalry and very, very male kind of teaching. But to be strong enough to say, okay, I'm not going to teach like that. And if anything, as I say, for me, it was almost this reverse psychology of, okay, I'm going to prove to you that I really can do this. And in a funny way, that was his approach, this reverse psychology, and to put the pressure on. But I took it a step farther, and when I left him, I said, yes, I'm going to try to go to the Olympics, and I'm going to do this. And but many people, that doesn't happen. That humiliation and told you're never going to make it, and you're not good enough, and you'll never be good enough. For me, I was like, no, I'm going to prove you wrong. So for me, in a weird way, it worked. I wouldn't teach like that again, or wouldn't want to go through it in that sense. But it worked for me. But for many people, and especially children, and especially girls, no, that doesn't work. They believe it. And not that I didn't have to go through some therapy and work through that. No, you'll never be good enough. I mean, that, occasionally can still ring in my ears a little bit, but I know how to deal with it. But for many people, it doesn't. Or as I say, maybe they turn to alcohol or drugs or things as well. So yes, it is a huge manipulation of the student. Yeah. Yes.
What would you tell your teenage self now, with the benefit of hindsight, what you went through, Anne?
I would I would say to speak up. I would speak up sooner, just to really speak up at the time. But again, it was sort of, you just didn't speak up. You were, you couldn't cry if you fell off and got hurt. That was a sign of sort of weakness. No. Of course you wouldn't cry, and that kind of thing. But yes, the manipulation and this sort of brainwashing. It was a bit of a brainwashing that you don't speak up, again, whether you're hurt or anything, or of course not about the abuse, because God would get in trouble, Jimmy would get in trouble, or I would get thrown out of the riding club. That shameful, all this, of course, shame, and your parents, and of course those kind of people know who to target. My parents were going through a divorce at the time, and I was a little kid that just wanted to ride. All I wanted to do was be the very best I could be. Just all I wanted to do, be with the horses and be the very best. And I'm also very lucky because the horses were really my savior. I have to say, I think. Maybe when some kids turned to other things, I just dove more into the horses. That they were really my savior, and I really mean that. Sit in their stalls and talk to them about my problems and things. That being a little kid. So that, and then today giving back to the sport, sort of that same thing, or in my teaching and in my riding. A real love for the horses. I mean, that's always been my thing, and not to make lots of money and this and that. I mean, that's not it. It was more the love of the horses and giving back to the horses, or even sometimes in my teaching when I get a little strong with the students, again, that they're maybe not paying enough attention, they're not focused, and they make some mistakes over and over, or that kind of, to wake up. And I'll say, I'm here more for the horses than for you. I hate to say that, but your horse is telling me you need to ride without stirrups, or you need to look where you're going, or he's bucking because your leg is loose and you're hitting him with a spur. And I might raise my voice for that. And I'll say, because of your horse, because of your horse, that part of it, very, very passionate about that, because they are such amazing animals and what all they do for us. So, yeah.
And how unforgiving they are, absolutely. Yeah, we have to stick up for them for sure. Just finally, before we move on, the one thing that I did read through the journey that you endured and how strong you have always been and how you overcame this, that at the end of the day, you forgave Jimmy Williams for that abuse. And even though he manipulated you and you became so successful, but what message do you think that sends now? Is this just a part of your personal journey that you had to get to the point where you were forgiving him in order for you to move on?
Absolutely.
And become the mentor and the role model that you want to become?
Absolutely. That forgiveness is huge in life. Gratitude and forgiveness, both of those are huge. I'm grateful for all I learned from him. And part of him, I have to say, he was a genius horseman. I learned so much. A huge part of my career. And somebody had said, how could you say all those things, nice things about him for all these years? And I said, but on the other hand, I did. He made me a great rider and a great horsewoman, and understanding horses, and like that cannonball at the Olympic Games in Barcelona, and stopped out with me the first round. And I went back to the old Jimmy Williams, under, over, or through, and by God, I got around with 4 faults the second round. I mean, it was amazing. That was horsemanship from Jimmy Williams, no kidding, from my childhood. So much I'm thankful for of that. The forgiveness piece, people go around carrying grudges and holding on all this baggage. You're not going to grow. To really forgive the guy. He had his own problems. He had his own stuff. That's why he was this abuser. But for me, the biggest part of the forgiveness is, to forgive him so that I don't have to carry that around the rest of my life. He had his own problems, and I survived it. And no, I'm not gonna. I'm over it. I'm okay. So those are 2 huge things. Thankfulness and gratitude, that I think a lot of people. People can be stuck for years and years and years, and they don't have to be, So for sure, to forgive and not totally forget, of course, the all that went on, but I'm okay with it. It happened. It's part of life. It's just part of this go round, and I learned a tremendous amount from it. So, and again, as a mentor today, that I would never do that. It's like some of the things he did with the horses. I would never do it. It worked for him, or some old cat when he did cowboy kind of stuff. You learn also what not to do. That's life. There's the positive and negative, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, and what not to do. And again, how to get, on the other hand, how to get great results doing it differently. My teaching, some of it very, very differently than that aggressive kind of abusive, or over a little bit over the top. How can I get great results more working with the students and working with the horses, not against them and belittling them. So I think in a sense, I can be a better mentor because I have seen both sides. I've been, this abused kind of thing. I survived it. I can talk to people about that, or I can show that part. I've also been very successful. So yes, I can say I'm powerful, and now I'm the chef de keep, the assistant chef de keep for the U.S. team. And I've judged and I've done things, and people look up to me. But to not abuse the power. I'm thankful that people look up to me. I'm thankful, and if I don't know, power, I guess you call it. If it can be helpful in the sport, if it can be helpful in my teaching, if it can be helpful, great. Yes, use it, and I'm thankful to have earned all that by all that I've done, but for sure, never to abuse it. You know what I mean? You learn from all of it.
Yes, and you've become a positive influence. I think that's what's great. And we shouldn't forget that you've endured the homophobia too, that homophobic slurs that were put on you at the time. And, as gay women, we have to rise above that as well. And even though it's getting better, we hope it's getting better with time, it's still there and it's still prevalent. So that abuse, and that's, the psychological and emotional impact all of this has on us as we emerge as adults, but as strong women too. And I think what you've now become is such a wonderful mentor and a role model, and shown how you've had your difficult journey, but look how great you've become. You've become a great human being in spite of it all. And that must feel empowering in a way that you are such a strong and positive influence and role model for young girls now.
I hope so. I didn't set out to be that necessarily, but yes, it comes with success, how you conduct yourself. I think that's an inside feeling of mine, to always be your best, even that going to the Olympics, to always be your best. I don't know if I was really taught that, but it's certainly a feeling to share with the young girls. And I tell parents, when I'm helping the kids and stuff, I was a young girl, I can relate to your daughter. I remember when I was a little kid. Yes, I've been to the Olympics. Yes, I won the Grand Prix at Aachen years ago and things, one of the first women to do that. And all of those things, but I can still relate to the little girl. I was a little girl. And what the excitement and the passion to ride and just have fun doing that. And so, but as a role model, then yes, to how you conduct yourself, or not yelling and screaming or ranting or raving, and to how you're always influencing them, good or bad. Same riding the horses. You're always making them a little better, a little worse. How you ride the horses. So I'm thankful I'm a good role model. I enjoy it. And even with the younger girls, or even the teenage, they're going through different stages of life, helping them and saying, again, how are you perceived by the others? How are you conducting yourself? And even just recently in a clinic, talking to the kids at the lunch break, and also even there was a gal about marketing, and and they're most of them not kind of driving yet, maybe a few of them, so around 12, 14, 15, 16, teaching a young group, but also for marketing, you want to ride somebody else's horse. You one day want to get an owner and have owners like McLean Ward and BZ Madden, Laura Kraut. How you conduct yourself, how polite you are or thankful you are, not beating up on the horses or acting like a spoiled brat or those kind of, all of that. It also not only, yes, for sure that you're a better person, you're a better human being, but in life and in business, you'll get further, being like that, so those lessons to share with the kids how and why. And I share, of course, my own personal experiences, and in the sport, there are the ups and the downs, and with owners, with winning an Olympic medal, and then also, not doing well at the Olympics, as I've had both. I've been an alternate and things. So all those experiences, and as we get older, of course, I think at least for me, it's been easier than to take all that and then share it with my students or even young professionals that I work with. How to be your best, and I think you'll enjoy life more, and I think that's why I've been successful. A lot of that was always my sort of feeling on life, or personal philosophy on life.
What I love, Anne, is that you still really love teaching the children just as much as you do the adults. I mean, you're coaching not just the next generation, but the current generation. And you're loving every aspect of that, whereas many coaches today as they get more experience, they become more selective, don't they, as to who they coach. But you put your arms around everybody, don't you?
I do. I mean, I love, I am also this year what used to be called a selector, but for the WEG team, an advisor, one of those, and I was that for the last Olympics. So being at the top of the sport and, going to those shows in Europe to select the team. And so I love being with Robert Ridland, who's our chef, and watching the other horses and riders, the Americans, but also the best in the world. And there's nothing like being involved in the sport at that level. When you've competed at the Olympics or the World Equestrian Games, the top of the sport, there's just something special. I mean, that's where my heart really is. And I wish I was still competing at that level. But at least, doing some coaching and being an advisor, those kinds of things, that's where my heart is. There's just nothing like it. And yet, I do love to teach. And doing these different levels, I love working with the young professionals and our young riders coming up. And some of these little kids, I have to say I do enjoy it. It's sort of funny. But I if I can give back to the sport and inspire some of them to, come on, let's see how far you can go, and if this is what you want to do, and even even if they don't go on in their riding career, they don't go to the Olympics, but so many of the teachings, the discipline, the love of the horse, the taking care of the horse, the how you treat the horse, that you ride better, your feeling becomes better. So it's not just jerking them and kicking them or hitting them when something doesn't go right, of course. The bond with the animal, preparing for shows and things like that. So many of those are really life's lessons, how you think and how you focus and how you conduct yourself, how you prepare. Even helping this little 12-year-old the other day, and the father afterwards saying, he just loved my teaching. But not only because of the riding, but there was so much more sort of life lessons that go into it as well. Focus and discipline, and yet, yes, having fun with their horse. So yes, every aspect of the sport, I must say, I do love. Maybe it's kind of crazy, but I do love it.
No, it's wonderful. I love it. It gives me goosebumps listening to you, because you're just as passionate now as you ever were. I love it, Anne. I just want to talk a little bit about the Safe Sport Initiative now, and when you think about the evolution of coaching per se, and how riders do become trainers and coaches, with sometimes without any transition between those roles, without any guidance or instruction about becoming a coach rather, so that there's not been the policing of the standards, if you will, in a way, and when there is abuse, as we've seen recently, there's been no no oversight. And now, finally, some federations across sports are stepping up to their responsibility. And you've been a great advocate of that too, of course, with your role with the National Federation. Talk a little bit about that and how important that it is for you to be sharing that message you would have done with your younger self of speaking up.
Yes. I'm very excited that our federation, the USEF, has really taken this on, the safe sport. I mean, now it is a federal law, that if you hear of something, you need to speak up. If you hear of a child being abused or a child speaks up. So I think it's great that there's a place for everybody to go, that there are phone numbers and things for the kids to call, a lot of it, and even my speaking up, that not only the parents, yes, the parents, but adults around, if they see something, if they have an inkling to speak up, if they think something's a little off. But the real safe sport program, I guess, at the Federation, it's been in place for several years. It was interesting for the judges to take, and not that some judges aren't horsemen and have businesses, horse businesses, but it's sort of funny because most judges actually don't get very close to or they shouldn't, but don't really get close to the exhibitors. So now it's perfect that this Safe Sport initiative, that the trainers now are going to all have to take it. If they sign an entry blank for a kid showing, they have to take the Safe Sport. It's I don't know if it's an hour and a half, maybe long, like a video you can see on your phone. It's a program that you take, and it's a little bit of a test, I guess. I mean, I've done it in the last couple of years, and it's not difficult. It takes a little time, but really it talks about, what you're looking for, what you sort of see, and to speak up about. So it's great that the trainers now really do have to take that, and it really isn't difficult to take. But not just coach myself as a chef. That's why I had to take it. But the judges and things. And as far as the sort of standard, I really think also this trainer certification program that has been in the works with the Federation for years, but it's never been mandatory. I think that's going to happen in the next couple of years again, that all the trainers will have to take something, just what you say, a course, and I'm sure it's not so difficult. Quite honestly, I haven't taken it. I do need to take it, and yet they use my book for part of it. They take some of the work, the questions and things out of this book that I wrote on riding and jumping, and but I think that's going to happen. Years ago, when David O'Connor was the head of the Federation, he really pushed for in eventing and dressage and show jumping, all of the disciplines, that there would be this trainer certification, more like I believe in England, where you come from, huh? That's been there. I think in Germany, they sort of have a program like that. You couldn't really get a teacher's license, a training license, coaching license, unless you did something like that. And we've not. The way it's always been, anybody can hang out a shingle, anybody can be a professional. And there are some good ones that, but there are a lot that also, maybe whether it's even in how they conduct their business or their buying and selling of horses and things, all of it, along with the coaching, along with the safe sport, just that there's more continuity in their training practices, and there is some sort of test that you've got to take, in all other businesses. If you're selling real estate, everybody, has to take these kind of courses to be able to do that, to get a license. So I think this safe sport and the trainer certification isn't in the works 100% yet. The trainers have to take it, but I really think it's going that well and that direction. You can take it. There are many professionals that have taken the trainer certification. And I think it's just a better level of coaching. But the safe sport is I think fantastic. It's a great program, not only for that the trainers are doing it, but so the parents know that the trainers are doing it. I even think the parents, Diane Langer, our youth chef, is pushing that even the parents ought to take it. And of course, you can electively take it. It's on the USEF website. I think anybody can take this course if they want, this 90-minute kind of thing on the video program. But more for awareness. And as I say, when I decided to speak up, hearing what was happening in Hollywood, and then, of course, with the gymnasts, and really just struck a nerve in me. I really need to speak up to help the children. What can I do so it doesn't happen to another kid? And if it helps one child, great. But I think it's helping a lot and raising the awareness of this bad stuff can happen. But I love my sport. I love the horses. You know, when I first spoke up, and to like the couple of reporters I had talked to, you know, I don't want to, you know, make my sport sound awful, because it's not. The horses, the sport, there are great coaches out there. It's a wonderful thing, especially for little girls, for self-empowerment, for growing and you know, controlling this big beast and having them be your best friend. There's so much positive about it. But then to keep it like that, you know, to not let these creeps take advantage of it. You know, that's the main thing. So I think the safe sport is great. It's started the conversation. People are talking about it. There are phone numbers. You know, if a little kid gets brave enough to call the phone number, they can, or the parent or a friend. If somebody sees something that doesn't really look right, now there are things that you can do. Whereas when I was growing up, there really wasn't much of that, and that would be the biggest thing to you know, speak up. Parental awareness, adult awareness, and that the jerks that are out of line, that they know they're going to get in trouble. You know, we're not all going to be silent anymore. There are consequences if you do something wrong, you know.
Absolutely. And, you know, one of the things that we want young girls to do and to be safe and feel comfortable in is the barn. I've talked to Katie Prudent on this program about how young girls often are not encouraged to spend time in the barn. Trainers have them off the pony and on to the next client, and they don't have that barn time, and they need to feel that this is a safe environment for them. And I mean, this is critical, isn't it?
Absolutely. Oh, being in the barn is just so wonderful. And yeah, that it's interesting. The what they used to call a barn rat. I mean, I love to be there 24/7. Now again, maybe there needed to be more supervision, or you know, as I say, my parents were going through a divorce, but that some of the other adults around would also notice. But yes, the parents need to pay attention. But yes, to be in the barn to how the horses, you know, grooming them and bathing them and putting them away and watching them eat, and, you know, in time, yes, mixing their feeds and things. And, you know, I'd go and sit when I was a little kid and talk to the blacksmith and watch him put the hot shoes on the horse, and all those things. To be a great horseman or great horsewoman, you're in the barn, what it feels like, and bonding with your horses. That is so important. And yet, yes, it has to be a safe environment for sure, that the parents can feel that it's safe, and that the kids want to be there. You know, whether they leave because they're on to also the children can be on to the next thing and on their cell phone too much and that kind of thing. I wish they'd be more involved in the barn, some of that. Sometimes it's the parents have all these time commitments, and then they've got to rush to the soccer practice or take the boy to baseball or something. So that's tough. But also just being able to be safe, and yes, to be in the barn, be with the horses. You just learn so much. That I would never change. I mean, the time in the barn, there's just something magical and healing and wonderful. Not just the riding, it's the off the horse, with the horse, that's very, very important, for sure.
There's nothing like sitting with your pony in the stable.
Yeah, you got it. Yes, absolutely.
Well, Anne, there's just so many takeaways from this conversation, and it's really been inspirational. And And of course, your work continues. You're playing really valuable roles, both with young riders now, and of course with your role as assistant chef and developmental chef. Get that right? So many different roles from right across the spectrum of the sport. I'm curious, what's on your bucket list now at this point in your career?
Oh wow. Oh, that's good. I guess I should think more about that. To just keep doing what I'm doing. I do love it. Maybe finding a top young horse and developing it, and even, getting another, younger Olympian to ride it, eventually, competing. I mean, that would be fun also, to bring along another top horse, even if I don't ride it. And I can't believe I'm saying it, because I never, ever would have said that a few years ago, ever. I always wanted to do it all myself, and still riding and training and competing and things. But that would be fun, to find another. I was so fortunate to have 5 horses that went to the Olympics, and even, today, to find another one and do that with another horse. But at the same time, to continue what I'm doing with my coaching jobs, I really love that. And, the next generations of our sport, men and women, boys and girls, developing them to be our next after McLean, after Beasy, this group that we have now. How do we inspire them and, get them to be on the podium 8 years, 12 years from now? How to inspire people to do that, want to do that, especially the riders, for sure, but even owners and, people that want that journey, how to share what I've done in my career with others and help them along the way. I mean, that does inspire me, and I think it's fun, and working on that.
If you look back, all the way back to all the things that you've done in your career, and what do you value most about having been involved in sport per se?
I love sport. I love the competition, even though in a funny way I say I'm not very competitive, but I guess I must be. I've always said that. Just that, the hard work, whether you're going to the Olympics or the World Equestrian Games or going to Aachen, the hard work, you put into it, you, as much as you can control your fitness, your diet, your same with the horses, their fitness, finding a top horse like an Eros or a Starman, bringing them along, focused on the games, that whole journey. I have such a passion for that, the journey, and then if all goes well, getting to the games, and then that experience. But sort of that, it's hard to say exactly, but the whole preparation for something like that's probably been the most fun. I don't know, I really would thrive on that, working sort of 4 years backwards for the next Olympic horse and the next Olympics, and to prepare and get ready mentally, physically, having the horse mentally ready, yourself mentally ready. That's what sport's about to me. And yes, winning along the way. Yes, you've got to go through the trials. You've got to show your country and the world that you're one of the very best, and that you earn the right to be on that 4-man squad. That is what sport's about. Proving yourself, having the dream, and really going after it 100%. And I was fortunate to, like I say, get on many top teams. That's the fun of it. That's what sport is all about. And yes, if you can win a medal, gold medal. I guess I've always been sad I didn't win an Olympic gold medal. I have 2 Olympic silver medals, Pan American gold medals. But it's the journey. It's really, that's what I love about sport. Yes, it's the competition, but it's really more of a personal for me. Can I find the next top horse? How can I get on the next team? That whole journey to me is the fun of it.
Do you miss that?
I do. There's nothing like it. And then with my kids, trying to share that with them, whether in my own stable, my own business, but also now with these developing teams. I had a good young group of riders, 5 riders that went to Madrid, Spain, and then and then Lisbon, and compete as a team, the U.S. team, and most of them had never been on a team before. So, telling the stories and doing that and getting excited for it, trying to share that with them and what it's all about and how to get there and all the sort of steps to take. And so I do personally, I do miss it. And yet if I can help them with it, again, watching our team, being a selector, being an advisor, watching them and being part of it. And yes, you're part of the team because I'm the assistant chef to Robert, helping to name the final team that will say jump and try on this summer. So you're part of it, but I'm not doing it myself. Yes, I miss that. I do miss that, but I feel like I can get a part of it still with what I'm doing.
We've got a long way to go before we actually look back at your legacy. But if you were to write that now, what would that look? What would you really like to say? I left my mark as being.
Oh
what?
Man, I don't know. A little girl that loved horses, that really followed her dreams. And I was so fortunate to get to do what I wanted to do, to end up being this little girl from California that got to go to the Olympics. And I think in that, hopefully helping I guess today, to hopefully inspiring other young riders to follow their dreams and go for it. There's a little girl from Brazil that I helped in Florida a little bit, and she just qualified at 14, I think she is, and she just qualified for some Brazilian championship, and they've been going for a couple of months having to qualify, and it's cute. She qualified second in the whole thing, and her coach had just sent me a few videos what she's been doing, and he said, her preparation in between these last two rounds was to watch you jump at Spruce Meadows in 1998 or something, and then now before the final one, she's watching you win the Grand Prix of Aachen on Starman, and just so cute. And if I can help somebody, some little kid, inspire some little kid, I guess that would be it.
Yeah, well, I think you're already making that mark, and you're inspiring generations to come. You really are. I always love talking to you. You really have made a mark, and I think will continue to do so. So thank you for your bravery, Anna, coming out, speaking out when you did, and being the mentor and role model that you are being. And yeah, always lovely to talk to you. Thank you ever so much for taking the time to come on the show. And we're going to be following you, of course, all the way to WEG, because you're going to have your role to play as the assistant chef, as you said. And so we'll see you at the World Equestrian Games.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me on your show. I really appreciate it. It's great to talk to you again.
Conversations from the world of women's sports. This is Wisp Sports Radio.
And you'll find links in the show notes accompanying this episode to Anne's social media and to her website. And as I've mentioned, we'll be at the World Equestrian Games for daily coverage and podcasts, so do join us then. That's from September the 11th through the 23rd in Tryon, North Carolina. If you'd like to reach us here, if you have any comments or questions or suggestions for guests, drop us a line to info@wispsports.com. And you can also follow us on social media and join in the conversation there. Just look for Wisp Sports. Our thanks again to our sponsors, Highlands Earache Drops. You can find them at highlands.com/ear-pain. My thanks again to Anne and to you for dropping by. We know you have lots of choices when it comes to podcasts these days, so thanks for listening. And if you feel inspired, do leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. That would mean a lot to us. Until the next time, thank you for listening and supporting women in sport everywhere.